Way too late.
You passed that point a long time ago.
Decades.
'Cause perpetuating lies and deception is the only thing that you seem to know.
It's the only play in their playbook.
All that you'd be safe in your tower.
Tower's crumbling.
Isolated from the people below.
That's us, the Goyim.
The truth has undermined your foundation. Why so many people now in the know? You thought that you'd see the day that you could just get away from the ones you betrayed, who raised their voices to say you won't be trusted anymore.
All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation, it is the 13th of May, 2026, a Wednesday, hump day, don't be a chump and crump day version of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, here, WTF. Wait till you hear the facts that we got today. Oh, my goodness. This is going to be a keeper, folks. This is going to be a barn burner. And where do I start? Okay, well, there are congressional hearings going on. Of course, they're talking about COVID. They're talking about Fauci. They're talking about the massive cover-up. They're talking about the collusion with Big Pharma. They're talking about all of that stuff. And yes, that is earth-shattering information. There are a lot of very important issues being discussed. But I still stand by the statement I've made for a long, long time. And that is that if we expose the Epstein files and the perpetrators behind it, everything else will crumble. Everything. Now, I've said it on this broadcast numerous times, and you know it to be true, that if you're climbing the ladder of success, whether it be in the private sector or the public sector, eventually you come upon a particular rung that's going to require that you compromise your principles, abandon your morals and your scruples. Otherwise, you're just not going to climb that ladder. And that ladder's been there for decades and decades and generations. So what's the result? The people who end up at the top of the ladder are the ones who compromise their principles and abandon their morals and their scruples. That's why we've got such a clown show right now. That's why we see so much corruption. That's why all of these people have attained positions of power, because they have been subjected to
bribery, coercion, blackmail.
Yeah, bribery, coercion, and blackmail. We got a T-shirt at the WTF Reports, and it basically has those three magic words: bribery, coercion, and blackmail. All right, so how does that figure in to what we're going to be talking about today? Well, let me turn the clock back, because this is real important stuff, folks. This is real important stuff. All right, so remember, turn the clock back about a year ago, after Trump got into office and he appointed Pam Bondi as Attorney General. All right? And she was on Fox News with Maria Bartiromo, and she said the following.
Tens of thousands of pages of documents and hundreds of victims of Jeffrey Epstein. So the FBI, they have been working round the clock at my directive, at Kash Patel's directive. Now Dan Bongino's there, who is a great asset for all of us at the FBI as well. But yeah, we have to protect their identity, their personal information, to make sure they're safe. But other than that, we are releasing all of these documents as soon as we can get them redacted to protect the victims of of all of these horrific crimes that he committed.
Okay, that was about a year ago. Now, you just heard her. Now, again, we're talking about Day One Bondi. And, of course, she referred to Kash Patel. And, of course, as she said, a tremendous asset was Dan Bongino. Yeah, you remember the Dan Bongino a couple of years ago? We can't let go of the Epstein issue. We got to keep going at that. We can't let it go. And then he's appointed assistant director of the FBI. And what happened? Yeah, he killed himself. Yeah, he killed himself. Yeah. Nothing to see here. Well, guys, it's such a shame to see Dan Bongino fall from grace as badly as he did. Anyway, so you just heard Pam Bondi saying how important it is to protect the victims. We have to redact all the victims' names and keep their identities hidden because that's the right thing to do, right? 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 Yeah, right. Okay, well, let's listen to some of the victims because they've been testifying in Congress the past couple of days. And keep in mind, Pam Bondi said we have to redact all the victims' names and protect their identities. And we're going to expose all the perpetrators, right? Well, it seems that just the opposite has happened. Listen to this. This is Representative Yas Ansari, and she's basically making the statement after the hearings. Listen to this.
The law was very clear that any personally identifiable information as it pertains to survivors should have been redacted. This is not an accident. The Department of Justice chose to do this because they want to silence people. They want this to go away. Donald Trump has made that abundantly clear. He's directed his staff to make sure that happens, and I believe that the reason these mistakes were made was, again, not an accident and at the direction of Pam Bondi.
Okay, now what accident do you think she's talking about? Well, she's talking about, obviously, the redactions. However, let's listen to some of the victims, okay? Let me see. I've got so many here. Where do I even start? Let's see here. Oh, okay, here we go. Epstein survivor. Okay, here we go. This is one of the survivors. And we see her name is, she even announces it. It's Diane something or other here. Let me start this right from the beginning. Listen to this.
My name is Danny Bensky. I was abused by Jeffrey Epstein in 2004 and 2005. That was 8 years after Maria Farmer first reported Jeffrey to the FBI. Although discussing my abuse is far from easy, I live with diagnosed PTSD from that experience. My story is actually one of the safest stories to tell. The key abuser who caused me physical harm is dead. It's imperative to understand that the stories you are hearing today are a tiny fraction of the whole. I am one of more than 1,200 girls and women. The passage of the Epstein Files Transparency Act was a moment in which survivors hoped and believed that we might see some reckoning. But the system yet again failed survivors. In the first round of documents, I saw my name in 2 places. Then in the January dump, there were more, and the redactions were far, far worse. These files displayed my name, my phone number, my old address, where I worked at the time, where I was studying, and other identifying information.
Amazing. Okay, so I guess her name didn't get redacted, did it? No, it didn't. Well, there are even more survivors that said the same thing. Listen to these. These are several different survivors. Okay, let's start this one right from the beginning.
I woke up one day with my name mentioned over 500 times.
The government promised us over and over again that our information would be protected and properly redacted. Those promises were broken.
These documents hold disturbing and yet incomplete accounts of my abuse, and they were viewable not only by the entire world, but my child, my students' parents, my friends, my employers, my colleagues, my family.
Husbands learned about their wives' abuse for the first time. Children learned about the abuse of their mothers from reporters, from strangers on the internet, and in some cases, from other kids at school.
Releasing my name while redacting the name of other powerful is not a mistake, it's a choice. It's a choice to prioritize the comfort of an institution over the safety of the survivors.
For years,
Okay, yeah, and remember,
we have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe.
Yeah, okay, yeah,
the
right.
comfort of an institution over the safety of the survivors.
For years, I believed there was an investigation happening. There wasn't.
Jeffrey Epstein was under house arrest for the molestation of underage girls at the exact time he was abusing me.
We have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe.
Yeah, right.
I thought, what do I know? Maybe that's how it works for rich guys. That's how it did work for Jeffrey Epstein.
If we We have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe.
Yep, okay.
Continue down this path. The question isn't whether abuse will happen again, but who will be the next Jeffrey Epstein.
Do not pardon Maxwell. If there are other men who hurt women, hold them accountable. But please leave the survivors alone.
I am no longer a Jane Doe hiding in the files. I'm a woman, I'm a fighter, and I'm a witness, and I'm begging you, please wash your hands.
Oh, my word.
We have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe.
Yeah, go ahead, Bondi. Tell us again. Right.
I want to hear from you what justice would look like in this case.
I appreciate you asking that question, but I don't know. That's your job. You guys have to figure out how to make justice, not me. Keep it in the history books. Don't stop fighting. Don't let it go away. I wish one day we all can sit there and never hear the name, but I also hope that we will forever, so this never happens again.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck is right.
We have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe.
Yeah, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to beat this dead horse. And I've said it, I'll say it again. If the Epstein issue is exposed fully, completely, totally, everything else will fall into place. Now, we can talk about the COVID cover-up. We could talk about the 2020 election. We could talk about the wood ticks, and we'll talk about that. We could talk about big pharma and big agri colluding to create all of these different problems in our food supply so that big pharma can benefit and profit from all of the treatments that they offer. All of it will crumble. All of it will fall and to dust if we can expose the monsters who are behind the Epstein issue. And we all know where that leads. We all know that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and her dad, Robert Maxwell, we all know the Middle Eastern country that Dan Bongino couldn't figure out. We all know where it goes. And if it's exposed, I'm telling you, the whole house of cards will come crashing down. So if you want justice for what happened with the pandemic, if you want justice for what happened in 2020, if you want justice for what happened on January 6, 2020, if you want justice for all of the crimes that Big Pharma's been involved with, if you want justice about any of this stuff, I guarantee you it will all lead back to the perpetrators who were involved in the Epstein cover-up. And I promise you also, the Epstein Island, Little St. James, isn't the only island. They've been operating all over the flaming world. Which leads me to the next issue here. Let me see if I've got any more, any more survivor testimonies. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. Shannon Joy had something to contribute. Anyway, here's Shannon Joy from her podcast.
What is going on down in Kentucky? Thomas Massie with $1.5 million raised against close to $20 million dumped in his district in Kentucky is now pulling out in a commanding lead over his opponent that was plucked out of the swamp, dropped into Kentucky, and gifted $20 million in free publicity. It's big pharma, big tech, big chemical. The Epstein class.
Big oil.
It is AIPAC.
Yep.
Trump Inc., MAGA Inc., and the Rhinos, all of them coming together in this unholy alliance to take out Thomas Massie in Kentucky. And with a measly $1.5 million that he raised in his recent money bomb, he's holding them off. That's a miracle. That's a miracle in the United States of America. And what is Thomas Massie doing? He's going up against the Uniparty. What happens 1 week from now in that primary is going to be incredibly important and could spell a sea change in American politics if it goes the right way. But if they win and take him out, then once again, the deep state, the swamp monsters, the pedophile protectors, the Epstein class, they'll get away with it again. And Tom Massie will be a lesson to every other independent, libertarian, conservative that dares to question Donald Trump and the Rhino Republicans. So this is important.
Yes, it is. And why did I throw that in there? Why did I throw in this promo for Thomas Massie? Well, I'll get to that in just a moment. But there was one more survivor that I overlooked here. Before I was going to play this one, but I just found it again. Maria Farmer. She that was about 30 years ago that she was a victim of this whole Epstein issue. She gave about an 8-minute dissertation. She couldn't attend the congressional hearing because she just got out of the hospital. But anyway, I'm going to play about a minute of her introduction into her statement that was going to be entered into the record. Listen to this.
So My name is Maria Farmer. I am the whistleblower who reported Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, Les Wexner, and others to the FBI 30 years ago in 1996. Today, I apologize for my appearance. I was not well enough to attend this hearing in person and have recently been released from the hospital. That's the result of 30 years of fighting. For 3 decades, I've carried a weight that no survivor should ever have to bear. I reported what I believed were heinous crimes against children, and these individuals responsible were involved in an international pedophile ring. I reported their crimes in real time, and the government continues to ignore me to this day. In 1996, I reported Epstein and his co-conspirators to my local New York City 6th Precinct. The commanding officer told me local police could only address the local arson crimes, and he instructed me to immediately report the whole story, spanning several states, to the FBI. He told me that it was vitally important that I tell the whole story to the FBI, which I did. The FBI asked me questions, said they were familiar with some of the perpetrators I identified, and gave me every reason to believe they would respond. That failure, that single moment when law enforcement refused to take action, set off a cascade of injustice and grave repercussions to my sisters, my family, and so many others, and to me personally, including my health and well-being. The FBI's decades of failure and inaction led to countless more girls and young women suffering abuse and trauma that could have been prevented. Individuals like Virginia Giuffre, Anushka DeGiorgio, Shantae Davies, Marika Chartoni, Danny Bensky, Jenna Lisa Jones, Ashley Rubright, and Jennifer Rose, among others.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. You might have noticed that she mentioned Virginia Giuffre. She also said that she went to the authorities. She went to the police. She went to the FBI. So why is there no justice? Because they're all in on it. And no, that's not a conspiracy theory. We all know that now. So you cannot find justice by going to the very people who were perpetrating and covering up these crimes. And by the way, Virginia Giuffre, I was going to pull out her testimony, her audio testimony, her kill switch, her dead man's switch, I should say. And unfortunately, she was unalived. They say it was personal, that she did it to herself, but I don't believe that in the New York Minute. Anyway, her younger brother, his name is Sky Roberts, he testified before Congress, and here's what he had to say.
Virginia were here today, she would say these words herself. Since she cannot.
He's breaking down.
I will say them for her as her little brother. And with that, I'd like to share Virginia's own words from her sworn deposition dated May 3rd, 2016. They trafficked me to many people. Okay, please name a person that Ghislaine Maxwell directed you to have sex with.
Listen to this.
Prince Andrew. Okay, who else? As a whole, they both trafficked me to many people. Okay, so can you please tell me when Ghislaine Maxwell asked you to have sex with another person? Glenn Dubin. Who else? Well, redacted is another one.
Oh, redacted.
Ghislaine Maxwell asked you to have sex with redacted. And Glenn Dubin and Steve Kaufman were, like I said, the first people I was sent to after my training.
Keep listening, folks.
And where does Alan Dershowitz fit into this group of people?
Who? Alan Dershowitz? Yeah, Alan Dershowitz.
Same. I can't tell you piece by piece by piece who. I know Glenn Dubin was first. Okay. And I know Stephen Kaufman was one of the first that I was sent to.
Steve Kaufman.
Alan Dershowitz could have been between Glenn and Stephen. This is only a small sample of the thousands of stories that still remain untold. But the question today is no longer whether names exist. The question is, what will Congress and the Department of Justice do about it?
Yeah.
We have to protect their identity, their personal information to make sure they're safe.
Yeah, right. Are you getting it yet? So why do you suppose, and I did play that brief clip, about Thomas Massie. Why do you suppose they're going after Thomas Massie so hard? Why is it that Trump has been saying that he's got to go? Why are they trying to primary him? Well, maybe this is why. Listen to this.
A lot of people are saying that was the turning point for the president, and that the fact that you have completely, you've really been the leader of that movement to try to hold people accountable, to get the files out there and everything else, even if it makes the president look bad. Express to me how important this issue is to you.
Okay, I don't know who the guy who's asking the question here. It says, let me see, Holden Collada. I'm not sure if that's the interviewer or not, but that's who's asking the question.
That this, for lack of a better term, could be the hill you die on, if you know what I mean. It could be the one issue that causes you to lose.
Right.
Obviously, it's that important to you. You want to talk about that for a minute?
Yeah. None of my motivations for the Epstein Files Transparency Act has been political, ever. In fact, there were Republicans who wanted to make it about Bill and Hillary Clinton, and there were Democrats who wanted to make it about Donald Trump. Ro Khanna and I excluded them from our press conferences. We didn't want it to become a political football. Because we knew the only way we could get it passed is to keep it from becoming a political football. Now, a lot of people, as soon as the files came out, the first key word they put in there was either Bill Clinton or Donald Trump. Those aren't the search terms I use because I care about getting justice for the survivors. We did 2 press conferences with them in Washington, D.C., and that's when I decided to redouble my efforts. I mean, at the age of 14, these girls that were being sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein were told if they could go find another girl to take their place, then they wouldn't have to be sexually abused. And some of them took that deal. And it's one thing to be evil to a child. It's another thing to get a child to do evil. And there are degrees of evil involved here that we've never seen at this scale. I think it's bigger than Watergate. It's bigger than Iran-Contra because it spans 4 presidencies. It's not about Joe Biden or Donald Trump. This happened under presidents before them. The light sentence that was given to Jeffrey Epstein in 2008 that allowed him to basically victimize hundreds of more women. We want to know, why was he given that light sentence? And so this started out for me as something that I thought should be done, but it turned into something more once I met the survivors and heard their stories. And it's something, by the way, we passed a law. I didn't get a congressional subpoena done. I didn't form a committee that's going to dissolve at the end of this Congress like a subpoena would. This is a U.S. law that passed both chambers and signed by the president. The reason that's important is because it will outlast this Congress. Even if I don't get reelected, I can sit at home and watch what happens because the next Attorney General is still obligated to release the files that this Attorney General still refuses to release. In fact, the next Attorney General can prosecute this Attorney General under the Epstein Files Transparency Act and associated other laws against conspiracy and cover-ups. So it's been important. It's fundamental. I don't think people realize in this country how fundamental it is. You see, Prince Andrew's lost his title. He's been arrested. The British ambassador to the United States, literally the most important link between two countries, fired and arrested. Former Prime Minister of Norway indicted. Minister of Culture from France. And what were they arrested for or indicted for? Not for sexually abusing girls or women or for sex trafficking, but for mishandling state affairs. And I think when you get down to the bottom of this is what's deeper and darker than even the sexual predation that you saw Jeffrey Epstein engaged in, is our governments were compromised around the world by wealthy, connected billionaires and by Jeffrey Epstein himself.
Okay, right there, you have it. This is worldwide. This is not just a few, sick individuals. We're talking about world leaders. We're talking about CEOs of huge multinational corporations and all their minions. That's why I say if the Epstein files are released and all of the perpetrators are exposed, everything else will fall into place. Because those CEOs are heading up these huge multinational companies. All right, more on Thomas Massie when I get back from this break.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And as always, you can get more information if you visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and it'll take you down to an area where you can click on Get More Tank, get all the specifications and details on how and why this fuel catalyst works so well. And yeah, I'm screaming from the rooftops. I'm ringing the bell. I'm flashing the lights. I'm blowing the whistle. You got to check out Get More Tank. This is good stuff for your vehicle. And it doesn't make any difference what your make, model, or year is. Of course, it's going to help. But the bottom line here, it's going to make your car or your truck or whatever, you're going to have more power. You'll notice that within the first tank. And then after a couple of tanks, after your engine adjusts to its new efficiency, it runs cleaner. It's got more power. When you hit the accelerator, you go. And the thing is that after a couple of tanks, you'll start to see the mileage increase. And after a few tanks, you're going to see anywhere between 15 and 20% better mileage, and that means money in your pocket. So it doesn't make sense not to use Get More Tank. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Get More Tank. It's only going to cost you $20 to try this stuff out. It's not going to void your warranty. It's not going to hurt your engine. Just read all about it. Go to Get More Tank, and if you decide to purchase, you'll get a 10% discount. It costs you $20. $20. 5 tablets. 20% better mileage means the 5th tank is free. Do the math. It's a no-brainer, folks. Go to our website, The WTF Reports, and Get More Tank. Okay, it's 35 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in, and Ryan Mata has posted some information about Ryan Mata and why the entire country should get behind Thomas Massie. And because Thomas Massie and only a couple of other members of Congress are really pushing to open up these Epstein files, get them into the sunlight, and get the perpetrators. And when you find somebody who's done this to children, Let the punishment fit the crime. The Bible says it's better that you have a millstone tied around your neck and be cast into the sea than to hurt one of the little ones. And as far as I'm concerned, yeah, capital punishment is applicable in a situation like that. Some people even suggest wood chippers. I don't know if I'd go to that particular extreme. But the bottom line here is that if it costs $100,000 to $120,000 a year to keep a prisoner in jail, why should we taxpayers foot the bill to keep these monsters alive? Anyway, I'm ranting again. Here's Ryan Mata talking about what's going on with the primary with Thomas Massie. Listen to this, folks. Here we go.
First, to tell you guys that I flew all the way back to America just to take part in this Ride or Die Massie campaign. What you've watched here is an American patriot, a young lady by the name of Tiffany, organize a coalition of 30 to 50 creators from all across the country who are willing to, on our own dime, ride or die with Thomas Massie. We're all transcendent on Kentucky right now to take a stand against the AIPAC political machine. From the 14th to the 20th, you're going to see a coalition of creators that have over 40 million followers, and together we are going to take a stand against the AIPAC political machine. It doesn't matter how much money Marion Adelson or the Israelis want to throw at this race. It's not going to be enough to subvert the will of the American people. We are so sick and tired and fed up with these AIPAC first, America last politicians buying off our politicians, rigging our elections, and destroying our gosh damn country. So while people like Nick Fuentes are telling you to stay home and vote Democrat, you know, it's people like us that are doing what needs to be done. We're not hiding behind a computer screen, giving people the worst advice of their life. Right now, this is our last chance to save America. And forever, we always thought it was, we'll win it at the ballot box. We win it at the primaries. By the time we even get to the ballot box in the midterm elections, they've already got both candidates that they control. So no matter who we vote for, we're getting shafted, we're getting sold out, and Israel's getting all of our tax dollars. Enough's enough, America. So if you want to be part of one of literally the biggest and most baddest ass grassroots political movements in all of human history and all of American history, for the final stand, the final battle, if you will, come and ride or die with us on Team Thomas Massie. And you want to know what? I have a feeling this isn't the last time you're going to see a political movement. I wouldn't be surprised if you see the same thing for Dan Bilzerian. I wouldn't be surprised if you see the same thing for James Fishback. You know what? And even if we just get 3 candidates in this next election, it doesn't matter. That's all we need, because we need hand grenades that we're throwing into the swamp just to F shit up. It's time that we take a stand and we take our gosh damn country back. And we're going to send a message to Washington, D.C. We're going to send a message to AIPAC, and we're going to send a message to Israel. You think you're just going to come over here and we're just going to lay down and let you destroy our country? Well, you think we're going to let you install a plant like Fed Fuentes, who's going to subvert this movement and stop us from doing what needs to be done to defeat the AIPAC political machine? I don't think so. So if you guys are ride or die Thomas Massie, my DMs are open. We're going to be down there all week from pretty much the 14th to the 20th, and we're going to show Israel and AIPAC what happens when you finally piss off the American people and they've had enough. 40 million followers combined. I was doing 75 million views a month, and we're going to ride or die for Thomas Massie. So if you got what it takes and you're willing to make some sacrifices to save our country and you want to come join us, by all means, jump on the bandwagon, baby, and I'll see you guys in Kentucky.
Okay, thank you so much for cleaning up your language. He's notorious for dropping all kinds of F-bombs, et cetera, et cetera. But, so many social media influencers are heading to Kentucky right now. And the plea is going out there, if you're in the surrounding states around Kentucky, if you are within a 4 or a 5 hour drive, they're asking everybody to descend on Kentucky and defeat whoever this guy is. I'd never heard of him before, but there's a woman by the name of Tiffany Ciance, and she posted the following, and this is going viral all over the country. And you'll know why. Here she is explaining what's going on this weekend.
Yes.
Okay. First of all, before I get started with this audio clip, the guy who is up against Thomas Massie, and again, Thomas Massie will not accept any money from any of the Jewish lobbies, including AIPAC. But the opponent, who nobody's ever heard of, his name is Ed Gallrain. He's accepted almost $10 million from AIPAC. The number is 9,801,000. Okay, not quite 10 million, but 9.8 million. That's how much they want to get rid of Thomas Massie. And that's just AIPAC. There's all kinds of money being thrown in the direction of this guy, Ed Galbraith. But you know what? It's not about money. And I've been screaming about that for my entire career. I'm doing this not because I'm going to make money, not because I want the accolades and the praise and the ego stroke. If you're in it for any of those reasons, you're in it for the wrong reason. But anyway, here is Tiffany Ciance, and she's headed up this effort here. Hats off to this girl, Tiffany. Anyway, here's what she's doing.
This is everything wrong with American politics today.
She's pointing at the money that Ed Galbraith has taken in and the fact that Thomas Massie hasn't taken any.
This is what happens when a politician serves the interests of his voters, constituents, and the American people instead of the interests of billionaires and their pedophile friends. But I have a plan to stop it, and it's going to take every single one of us, and we're going to start right now because Thomas Massie needs our help, and he needs it today. Story time. 8 days ago, I was sitting at a lunch table in Washington, D.C., across from Congressman Thomas Massie, when he pulled out his phone, showed me a tweet, and asked me, "Miss Ciance, did you mean it when you sent this?" The tweet in question: "I will fly to Kentucky and bring every follower I have across every platform to fight for Rep. Thomas Massie. POTUS has grossly misjudged how done the citizenry is with bought and paid for politics." And the answer I gave him: "Absolutely, Congressman, what do you need?" He said, "That is exactly what I need. Can you help me?" Now, if you're not familiar with what's going on in the 4th District of Northern Kentucky, right now, Representative Thomas Massie, an incumbent that boasts the highest approval rating of any member of Congress, according to voters across the United States, is currently fending off a challenge from a primary candidate named Ed Galbraith, a guy nobody's ever heard of before, but Trump said that was fine because he just needed a warm body and Kentucky voters would vote the way he told them to. Now, all of that would probably seem fine if it was just a regular primary, but it's not. What's actually happening right now is that in retribution for Thomas Massie fighting so hard to release the Epstein files and back the victims of Epstein's crimes, these 3 billionaires right here that have zero ties to Kentucky have spent nearly $13 million in one of the smallest districts in the U.S. that currently has a primary to try to unseat Thomas Massie for refusing to protect their pedophile friends. Now, Representative Thomas Massie is very popular, so he's actually raised more than almost any member of Congress. And still, these 3 Israeli donors that have no ties to Kentucky are outspending him 4-1, drowning and flooding this district in ads that are using deep fakes to misrepresent words, make up statements he's never said, lie about him, knowing he doesn't have the money to fight back.
Okay, I'm pausing it for a second because one of the big donors, here it comes, Miriam Adelson. Yeah.
You see, AIPAC regularly brags about the fact that they have financially supported 80% of winners in congressional races. And I've also seen them congratulate themselves for up to 90% in prior election years.
And that has to do with bribery, or otherwise known as lobbying.
But at the beginning, I promised that I had a plan and that I was going to stop this corruption. I am done with billionaires buying elections and overriding the will of voters. And so today, I am calling on you to tag every creator you know that is within driving distance of Kentucky. Now, that's a big swath, okay? Within 5 hours, you've got Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Tennessee, Arkansas, Alabama. You've got Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, New York, Delaware, Pennsylvania. I need you to tag every creator you know on this app, and I need you to tell them that we ride at dawn for Thomas Massie. Because that's exactly what we need to do. I want every major creator that is available on this app, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum. If you are against corruption in politics and you want to make a difference, I need you here in Northern Kentucky at the Cincinnati line. And I need you here by Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Those are our 3 early days. Early voting is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the 14th, 15th, and 16th. And final voting day is Tuesday, the 19th. And so if you are within driving distance, I need you in Kentucky. I'm already here waiting for you. And I have about 30 of my closest creator friends, between us boasting 40 million followers. We are here to show AIPAC's billionaires that we can out-influence their money. Because we have integrity. No one here takes money. We don't take money for the work we do. We do the work we do because we want to make a difference. And today, we're going to be making a difference in Kentucky. Now, if you believe that we need to get money out of politics, I need you to get started. Start tagging people in the comments. Share this video. Stitch this video. Because I am going to be here now through the 20th, stacked with events, with meetups, creator meet and greets, Thomas Massie meet and greets. I am here to make sure that every young person in Kentucky knows that not only does their vote in this primary matter, it is the only vote that matters. Because right now, those 3 billionaires are working tirelessly to make sure that no young people know about this primary. Why? Because in the over 40 voting group, they are more likely to listen to Trump even if they love Thomas Massie. They are more likely to do what he says according to all polling. But in the under 40 voting group, Thomas Massie wins 82% of those voters, which is why the 3 billionaires are working double time to release their ads in a way where young people don't even know this primary is happening. So I need you. I need your creator friends. I want you guys to stitch this video, duet this video, post it to your stories and say, we need you in Kentucky, and reach out to Tiffany Cianci or the Vino Mom, depending on which platform you're on, because I have volunteer sheets. I have Airbnbs. I have volunteer opportunities. I have events. I need your help. We are going to show AIPAC that their money is worthless when we stand together. We haven't done it before, but we're about to right now. We're going to end this constant barrage of political acquisition of the things that are meant to serve us in the United States. I need you.
Yep. Okay, so I would suggest do some little research, roll up your sleeves. You know, our founding fathers sacrificed everything so we would have this country and have our freedoms and liberties. Unfortunately, when they planted those seeds of liberty in the garden, they were relying on us, their posterity, to tend the garden. And unfortunately, for generations the ball was dropped. And now the garden is very much overgrown. So that means we have to roll up our sleeves and double down. If we're going to save this country, we have to get involved. We have to. If it's of, by, and for the people, what do we get when the people don't do anything? Look around you. Look at the pickle that we're in. And that's because of apathy and complacency. So I implore you folks out there, roll up your sleeves, get on your computer, and follow Tiffany Cianci, Cianci. And if you're on the Eastern Seaboard, and if you're within striking distance of Kentucky, warm bodies, that's going to be needed. They want to have as many people showing up to support Thomas Massie because he and only a handful of other members of Congress are willing to stick their necks out and demand that transparency is transparent, because that's not what we're getting. Absolutely. So check her out. Her name's Tiffany Cianci, and if you're within, like I said, a 4 or a 5 hour drive, can you imagine how good you're going to feel if you go and you participate in this historic event? That's going to be pretty cool. So anyway, I needed to throw that out there because, like I said, and I'll keep on saying it, if we can break the wall of secrecy when it comes to not just Jeffrey Epstein, but the entire pedophile child trafficking network globally, then all the other corruption in all the other sectors will fall into place. And that includes, like I said, COVID, the 2020 election, you name it, because they're all involved. Not just on the federal level, not just on the state level, not just on the county level, not just on the city level, not just on the town level, but all levels. You know, I live in this little town and there's a railroad that goes through here, and I can't help but think, and wonder how many of these container cars that roll through on these railroads, how many of them are packed with children? And it makes me sick. I thought about even making a sign asking the question, how many children are trafficked through this town every day? None, a few, some, a lot. Thought about that. But you see, a lot of people don't want to think about that. No, that would never happen here. Stick your head in the sand and your butt's exposed. Anyway, okay, let's see. I got about 10 minutes left of the broadcast here. There are a couple of other things that I wanted to get to. Let's see, where is it? Okay, well, what's going on right now? The expose and the congressional testimony that's going on in regard to the COVID issue. Okay, Senator Hawley had the following to say, that he came out of one of the hearings and said this.
We're at the COVID cover-up hearing right now. You just said we don't have a democracy anymore. Can you elaborate on why you think that is?
This witness just testified under oath that the COVID origins report that the last administration issued was false. When it said that there's no evidence of a Wuhan lab-related activity in COVID, that was false. He just testified that when the last administration said that they were turning over all of the information that they could related to COVID, that's totally false. They gave us 5 pages. He said there are thousands and thousands and thousands of pages that were never turned over. I mean, it's unbelievable. We have basically a systematic effort to violate the laws of Congress, to lie to the American people, to mislead the American people, and it's still going on. The deep state actors, it is still going on. If you've got people who will just not follow the laws of Congress and will lie openly to the American people, I don't know how you can hope to preserve our country. I just don't know how you can do it.
Interesting. Yeah, so it's all...
COVID.
Okay, let's stop that again. So, I mean, it's all starting to come out about the COVID cover-up, et cetera, and of course, people are saying that, there's a statute of limitations on whether or not they can go after Anthony Fauci. I contend that no, when it comes to global genocide, there is no statute of limitations. And as far as that, the pardon that was signed by the auto pen under the Biden administration, that has no validity or weight whatsoever. None. Zip. Zada. Zippo. Whatever. But the bottom line here is, folks, it's all starting to come out little by little. But unfortunately, most of Americans are just not paying attention. They're just, hey, the basketball playoffs are happening, so we can't really pay attention to any of that stuff. No, we can't do that. So, anyway, let me see. Now there's all the talk about the hantavirus, okay? I would suggest that if you got a health food store, go stock up on vitamin D3 and zinc. And there was Dr. Zelensko, unfortunately, rest in peace, doctor. He was screaming about this entire CV-19 issue years ago. Now, I don't know exactly what it was that he succumbed to, but the bottom line here is that he's no longer with us, and he was trying to expose this stuff a long time ago.
Listen to this doctor explain how to handle hantavirus from 2022. It'll be the most enlightening 2.5 minutes of your life. Take a look.
Yeah, hi, good morning. This is Dr. Zelenko. I'd like to give you a biology lesson. There are many viruses in the world, and we categorize them based on their genetic material. And so there's a class of viruses called single-stranded RNA viruses. And some of those viruses include all the COVID strains, COVID-19, influenza virus, RSV virus, Marburg virus,
and
Ebola virus,
and
hantavirus. There are a few others. Mm-hmm. The point being is that they all are single-stranded RNA viruses that use the same common pathway in making copies of their genetic material. That's something called RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. That's what I've been talking about for the last 2 years in the context of COVID-19. But if we extrapolate that to think more broadly, then it's the same mechanism of treatment using zinc ionophores and zinc could inhibit all the strains of COVID-19, influenza virus, RSV virus, Ebola virus, Marburg virus, and hantavirus. This has tremendous amount of national security implications. And I don't think anyone realizes this. And so I'm pleading with our scientists and the honest people in our government to investigate this, because as the recent chatter in the news is going, We're seeing hemorrhagic fever from China. There's concern about Marburg virus, hantavirus, and Ebola virus. These viruses carry, to some estimates, 90% death rates. So I think there may be a solution to all these huge public health and bioterrorist problems, all with one simple, cheap, oral approach. Basically, what I'm saying is if the whole world had enough vitamin D3, high normal levels of vitamin D3, and enough intracellular zinc, we can eradicate most of these health threats. Thank you, and God bless you.
Okay, so there you have it, right from the horse's mouth. That was Dr. Zelenko, and he was saying what so many other physicians have been saying for a long time, is that, that's why they were saying get rid of hydroxychloroquine. Remember that? Because it had zinc in it. And so it's vitamin D3 and zinc. Those are two things that you might want to stock up on if you're concerned about the hantavirus. Now, I'm looking at the clock here. I've only got about 3.5 minutes left. I wanted to open a can of worms having to do with this wood tick thing. Of course, you probably have heard at this point that farmers all over the country are discovering on their property boxes. What are these boxes? They're loaded with ticks. Now, we all know that Bill Gates has been purchasing farmland all over this country, hundreds of thousands of acres. We also know that Bill Gates is heavily involved in creating lab-grown meat because, of course, the cows have to go. The cow farts. Yeah, their carbon footprint. Yeah, they want to get rid of meat-eating people. So how do they do that? And he wants to sell his lab meat. So what do you suppose Bill Gates did? Well, allegedly did. Well, how about manipulating and creating a bioweapon in the form of infected ticks? The Lone Star tick, the bite from one of these ticks will make you deathly allergic to red meat. Well, how convenient. What a great way to herd people into purchasing lab-grown meat. Boy, that's a great business model, don't you think? So you have to understand that these monsters that are in charge of our world, they don't do anything for the benefit of the people. They don't want progress. They don't want, peace. They don't want any of that. They want their profits. And they want their control. And that's where we're at, folks. So anyway, I didn't mean to get off on my own soapbox here, but I've been watching this crap for years and years and years, and it's not hard to figure out when you've got enough puzzle pieces, you can put them together and get a big picture. And when you get the big picture and you see the face of the beast, it'll chill you right to the bone. Well, I've become accustomed to it. And a lot of people around this country, they don't want to look into the face of the beast. Because, yes, it's scary. Yes, it's chilling. Yes, it's daunting. Yes, it's overwhelming. But the only way we're going to save this country and save our children and our children's children is for us to take responsibility and, like I said, roll up our sleeves, get involved, understand that, yes, we neglected the garden that yielded our freedoms and liberty. We neglected the garden, and now we're going to have to work like hell to bring it back to its grandeur. So roll up your sleeves, folks. Get involved.
We can't wait for you to start to...
All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Wednesday edition of the WTF Reports. If you're listening on BitChute or Rumble or YouTube or Facebook, again, I humbly request that you click like, share, subscribe, and above all else, word of mouth. Tell your friends out there that there's a source of information that is not exactly on the mainstream. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it. And even more so, do business with our advertisers, or you could even make a contribution on our GoFundMe page. And for those of you who have, I thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart, helping to keep us with the bills paid. Anyway, that said, it's going to wrap it up for today's installment of the WTF Reports. I'll be back again tomorrow with more of the news I hope and pray you never hear. So until then, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and God willing, I'll see you tomorrow.